Your laptop camera has a light. A small light, usually green. It turns on when the camera is active and it turns off when the camera is not active. That is what it is supposed to do. These are 3 stories from 3 people who discovered that the light does not always tell the truth. That the camera is not always off when the light says it is off. And that whatever was watching had been watching long enough to know things that should have been impossible to know. If your laptop is open right now, I want you to look at the camera. Look at the light. Are you sure it is off? The searches were made at 3 a.m. from my own device on my own IP address. I was asleep on the sofa 3 feet away. Someone had searched my name, my workplace, my mother's address, and the exact make and color of my car. The camera light had not turned on once. Whatever used my laptop to research me did not need the light to be on. Let me tell you how I found out. My name is Claire and I work in digital marketing. I am not a technical person. I know enough about computers to do my job and not much beyond that. I say this because what I am about to describe is something I only discovered by accident, and I want you to understand that if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone. It started with a slow laptop. About 8 months ago, my personal laptop started running slowly. Not catastrophically, just the specific sluggishness of a machine that has too many things running in the background. I ignored it for 2 weeks the way you ignore a slow laptop when you are busy and it is not urgent. Then one Saturday morning I had time and I decided to clean it up. I went through the startup applications. I cleared the cache. I checked the storage. Standard basic maintenance that anyone can do with a quick search and 20 minutes. Then I check the browser history. I check my browser history occasionally when I'm trying to find a page I visited and forgot to bookmark. I opened it expecting to see my usual pattern: work research, online shopping, social media, recipe searches. The ordinary digital footprint of an ordinary life. The history from the previous week was normal. The history from 3 weeks ago was normal. Then I scrolled back further. At 3:04 a.m. on a Tuesday 6 weeks earlier, the browser had opened. I had been asleep since 11. I knew this because I remembered that Tuesday, I had an early meeting the following morning and I had gone to bed deliberately early. My laptop had been on the sofa beside me when I fell asleep. The sofa where I had been sleeping. The 3:04 a.m. session lasted 41 minutes. In those 41 minutes, someone had searched the following things in this order: Claire Hendricks, Claire Hendricks Digital Marketing, Claire Hendricks LinkedIn, the marketing agency I work for, the address of the marketing agency I work for, my mother's name, which is not on any of my public social media, which I have never searched from this device, which exists nowhere in my browser history before this session, my mother's address, the make, model, and color of my car, which I had mentioned once in a private message on a platform I was logged into on this browser. And finally, this is the one that made me put the laptop down and sit very still for a long time: the distance by foot between my apartment building and the nearest late-night entry point to my building's parking garage. 41 minutes. 9 searches. Every single one about me, or about how to find me, or about how to access my building at night. From my own device. From my own IP address. While I was asleep 3 feet away. I called my brother who works in IT. He came over that afternoon. He ran a full diagnostic on the laptop. He found a remote access application installed in a system folder, the kind of folder you never look in unless you know where to look. The application had been installed 4 months earlier. It gave whoever installed it full access to my device, browser, files, camera, microphone, whenever the laptop was connected to Wi-Fi. He asked me if I had let anyone use my laptop in the past 4 months. I had. A man I had been on 3 dates with who had asked to check something quickly on my laptop while we were at my apartment. I had handed it to him without thinking. I had left the room to make coffee. I had been gone for approximately 8 minutes. 8 minutes was enough. My brother removed the application. He helped me change every password on every account. He told me to get a new laptop. I did. But here is the thing I cannot stop thinking about. The searches at 3 a.m. Not the application. Not the access. The searches themselves. Someone sat at a keyboard at 3 a.m. or used software to do it remotely and searched my mother's name, my mother's address, the walking distance to my parking garage at night. They were not looking for information to use immediately. They were building a file. I do not know what was in the rest of it. I do not know if there is a rest of it. My new laptop has a camera cover, a small physical cover that slides over the lens. It cost £3. I slide it closed every night before I go to sleep. Claire's story is about what someone did with access to her device. The next story is about what someone did with access to every device, every location, every room the device was ever taken into, and how the person who found out only found out because of something invisible that most people never check. The metadata showed a second camera was active during every photograph I had taken for 8 months. At my studio, at my parents' house, at my girlfriend's apartment. Whatever was watching had followed me everywhere I took my laptop. And I only found out because of a number that was 3 pixels off. My name is Daniel and I am a freelance photographer. I shoot commercial work primarily, product photography, corporate headshots, event coverage. My laptop is my editing suite. It goes everywhere with me. Shoots, client meetings, family dinners, holidays. Everywhere I go professionally or personally, my laptop comes with me. This matters because of what the metadata showed. 8 months ago, I was editing a batch of photographs from a corporate shoot for a finance client. Standard post-production work, color correction, exposure adjustment, export. I was working quickly because the deadline was tight and I was not paying close attention to anything beyond the images themselves. Then I noticed something wrong with one of the exports. A color value that should have been consistent across a batch was off by 3 pixels in one image. Not visible to the naked eye, the kind of error that only shows up when you are checking technical specifications for print. I went into the image metadata to check the camera settings at the time of capture. The metadata showed 2 cameras active simultaneously during the shoot. My Canon, which I had been shooting with, and my laptop's built-in camera. I assumed it was a software glitch, a misread, some technical error in the metadata logging. I checked the next image. 2 cameras. I checked 10 images from the shoot. 2 cameras in every one. I checked images from the previous week. 2 cameras. I checked images from the previous month. 2 cameras. I went back 8 months to the earliest photographs in my current project folder. 2 cameras in every single image I had taken for 8 months. I started checking the locations. My studio, 2 cameras. A client's office building, 2 cameras. My parents' house at Christmas, 2 cameras. My girlfriend's apartment, 2 cameras. A hotel room I had stayed in for a conference in Edinburgh, 2 cameras. Every location, every shoot, every personal moment I had photographed with my phone while my laptop was open nearby. 2 cameras. Always 2 cameras. I took the laptop to a specialist, a cybersecurity consultant I found through a professional contact. He ran a full analysis. He found a piece of software embedded in a driver update I had installed 8 months ago. The software activated the laptop camera silently, no light, no notification, no visible process in the task manager. Whenever the laptop was powered on, it compressed the camera feed into small data packets and transmitted them at irregular intervals to an external server to avoid triggering network monitoring alerts. He asked me how many hours per day my laptop was powered on. I told him, between 8 and 14 hours depending on the day. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Whoever was running this server has between 2,000 and 4,000 hours of footage of you and everyone you were near for the past 8 months. 2,000 hours. My parents. My girlfriend. My clients. My colleagues. People who had no idea they were being filmed. People who had never agreed to be on camera. People who were in their own homes, in their own offices, in their own private spaces and were filmed anyway because I brought my laptop into the room. The server address resolved to an overseas location. The cybersecurity consultant told me tracing it further would require law enforcement involvement. I went to the police. They opened a case. That was 14 months ago. The case is still open. The server is still active. I do not know who was watching. I do not know what they were watching for. I do not know what 2,000 hours of footage of my life and the lives of the people around me has been used for. My laptop now stays at home. I bought a second machine for work. A basic machine with no camera, no microphone, no Wi-Fi capability. A machine that cannot watch and cannot listen and cannot transmit. It cost more than the camera cover Claire uses. It is worth every penny. Daniel's story is about surveillance that was wide and patient and silent. The next story is about surveillance that was targeted and specific and deliberate. And about a person who only discovered the full extent of what had been taken from her when she found something in her own sent folder that she had never put there. The draft email contained every document, every source, every name I had spent 4 months protecting. I did not write it. It had been sitting in my sent folder for 11 days addressed to the CEO of the company I was investigating. Whoever put it there wanted me to find it before they decided what to do with it. I want to be careful about how much identifying detail I include in this account because the story is not fully resolved and some of the people involved are still at risk. What I can tell you is that I am a journalist. I was 8 months into an investigation into financial misconduct at a mid-sized technology company. The investigation involved confidential documents obtained through sources inside the company, people who trusted me with information that could cost them their jobs and in some cases their safety if it became known they had provided it. Source protection is not a preference in investigative journalism. It is an obligation. The safety of the people who trust you with information is your primary responsibility. Everything else, the story, the deadline, the publication, comes second. I had been rigorous. I stored source communications on an encrypted drive that was never connected to the internet. I used a separate secure email account for source contact. My investigation notes were handwritten and stored physically. I had taken every precaution I knew how to take. 11 days before I was due to file my investigation, I was reviewing my email accounts as part of my standard security check. I checked my sent folder. There was an email I did not send. It was addressed to the personal email address of the CEO of the company I was investigating. Not the corporate address, the personal address, which was not publicly listed anywhere and which I had spent 2 weeks trying to find through legitimate channels and had not been able to locate. The email had been created 11 days earlier. It had not been sent. It was sitting in my drafts folder marked as a draft but filed under sent in my email client's organizational system, the kind of technical anomaly that happens when a draft is created in one session and the client crashes before it is properly saved. I opened it. The email contained a summary of my investigation. Every key finding, every document reference, every source identified by name, by position within the company, and by the specific information they had provided. I had not written any of it. I sat at my desk for a long time. Then I called the cybersecurity journalist at my publication, a colleague I trusted completely. She came to my office within the hour. She examined my laptop. She found a keylogger, software that records every keystroke made on a device and transmits the data externally. She found a remote viewing application that had given an external party real-time visibility of my screen. She found evidence that my laptop camera had been active during working hours for an estimated 3 months. 3 months of watching me work. 3 months of reading every word I typed. 3 months of watching me review documents on screen. 3 months of watching me write notes that I thought were only visible to me. The draft email had been composed by whoever was watching, assembled from the keylogger data, from the screen capture, from 3 months of observation, and placed in my drafts folder as a message. A message that said, "We know everything. We have known for 3 months. We are deciding what to do with it." I spent the following 48 hours contacting every source, every person who had trusted me with information. I told them what had happened. I told them what had been seen. I helped each of them assess their immediate risk and take appropriate steps. The investigation was ultimately published. The sources were protected through additional steps taken in the 48 hours after I found the draft. The story ran, but the draft email sitting in my sent folder for 11 days while I worked, while I typed, while I reviewed documents, while I sat at my desk not knowing I was being watched. That is the thing I come back to. Not the keylogger. Not the screen capture. Not the camera. The draft. Someone assembled everything I had spent 8 months building and placed it in my own email account and let me find it on my own timeline. That level of patience and precision is not random. It was a demonstration. They wanted me to understand exactly how completely I had been seen. I understood. 3 people. 3 laptops. 3 different ways of finding out that the camera was on when they believed it was off. Claire found it in a search history made at 3 a.m. while she slept 3 feet away. Daniel found it in a metadata value that was 3 pixels off in a photograph he almost did not check. And the journalist found it in a draft email she did not write sitting in her own sent folder for 11 days addressed to the person she was investigating. In all 3 cases the camera light did not turn on. In all 3 cases the watching had been going on long enough to know things that should have been impossible to know. Look at your laptop right now. Look at the camera. The light is off. Are you certain that means the camera is off? Because Claire was certain. Daniel was certain. And a journalist who had taken every precaution she knew how to take was certain. Put a piece of tape over it tonight. Just tonight. See how it feels. If you have ever noticed something strange on your device, a search you did not make, a file you did not create, a camera light that behaved in a way it should not have, drop it in the comments. I want to know I am not the only one collecting these stories. Subscribe to Midnight Scary Stories for new videos every week. Turn on notifications. And close your laptop when you are done watching this. Just to be safe.